Today's podcast is brought to you by Kentucky Farm Bureau Insurance. Accidents happen. Without the right coverage from the right insurance company, damage to your automobile can be a real financial hit. That's why Kentuckians appreciate the competitive rates and personal service they get from Kentucky Farm Bureau Insurance. When the unexpected happens, count on us to help you get back on the road. To request a free quote, find your local KFB insurance agent at mykfbagent.com. Kentucky Farm Bureau, big on commitment. Hey, Matt, how's it going?
It's going well. How are you?
I'm good. We got a fun one today.
Yes. We've got someone very young in here, making me feel very old.
Oh, yeah. That is the thing. This is my first time having this moment. I now have an intern, and it's that moment of you are officially old, and here we are. But he's fun. No, we like Weston. It'll be cool to have people meet him on the podcast.
Yeah, he's a great young man. Ag background, came here to learn something. I think he's getting there. And he's going to have a cool experience this summer.
Yeah, for sure. So without further ado, I'm Renee Carrico.
And I'm Matt Hilton.
And this is Between the Rows. All right. How's everybody doing?
Good.
I'm doing good. Welcome to the podcast room here at the Kentucky Farm Bureau State Office.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yeah, we keep him locked up on the fourth floor most of the time, doing all of our grunt work as the intern, but we let him down here today.
Yeah.
Well, that's what they're for. Interns are here to do the grunt work, all the worst work. So, but thanks for joining us.
So this is our inaugural podcast year, of course, but this is our inaugural Meet the Intern podcast episode. So congrats, you were the first intern to be on the podcast. How's it feel?
Feels really good. I didn't know I'd be doing a podcast, and I'm excited to be here.
Excellent.
Yeah, we left that out of the interview process. We didn't give him that option.
Well, Renee knows you, I hope.
Yes.
So I don't. So tell me a little about you. Where'd you come from? What part of the state are you from? Where do you go to school? Tell us everything about you, man.
Well, I am from Campbell County, Kentucky, southern Campbell. Grew up on a small family farm. We raised Hereford beef cattle. And I say just recently, but in the past 7 years, we've been doing a larger row crop operation, about 120 acres, which isn't much, but when you get into the northern counties, it's a lot more than you'd think.
What part of where'd you go to school? What'd you do
Okay, so I went to all the Campbell County schools, so Campbell County Middle School, Campbell County High School. Mm-hmm. I was a participant in 4-H, mainly the 4-H Livestock Club. I spent my entire life showing cattle and pigs. I was a big participant in FFA when I got into high school. An officer for 3 of the 4 years. I was my chapter president, and even went on to be the Northern Kentucky Regional Secretary for FFA. And I learned a lot from those clubs. Just being able to sit here and talk about myself was probably from those organizations. And I learned hard work and responsibility through 4-H. I got lucky. Every time I showed a steer, it was just one out of our farm, and it was. Herefords are easy to halter break, but I got to experience that, and at the end of the year, sell my 4-H project. I got to buy my first truck, and then from there, the rest of the money was saved to go to college. And going into college, I am a ag economics major at the University of Kentucky. I will be starting my junior year, and I'm part of many clubs there. Collegiate Farm Bureau being a big one, Block and Bridle, the Agribusiness Club, and CDS, which is Community Development Society. That's a new one I joined, and I'm actually the treasurer of now. But
congrats.
Yeah.
Did you just learn this?
I've known before the semester, they did officer elections. I was like, you know what? I'll just throw my name in there, and got a position.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah.
Best way to get your feet wet, man. It's just volunteer.
Yeah, volunteer, and people will find something for you to do.
Oh, yeah.
If you, especially some organizations, they need it, So you talked about you showed cattle. That's something, I don't know, every guest seems to have shown
We do
cattle.
have a lot of showmen. We've had a lot of showmen on the podcast.
And you talk about that taught you a lot. I mean, was that what you're talking about? To kind of raising that, talk about that whole scenario. And what did you really learn from doing those kind of things?
Well, so when you're showing cattle, you have them for months, and like starting in like December is when you get this calf, and you don't sell it. And for us, at least for my county fair, we don't sell it till September. So you have it for that whole long period, and it's a lot of, especially towards like show season, it's a lot of early mornings, getting it up, making sure it can walk, feeding it like the right feeds. You're learning like rations for these animals. It's just a lot of responsibility. And my parents were the kind of people that were like, sit back and let you learn. And it obviously, my first few projects, they were more than helpful. But once I got the hang of it, it was kind of more, especially as I got older into high school, it was more like on me to do it. And I think that's what got me most of my like work ethic to want to join so many clubs in college or do an internship, it's a big learning curve, and you just gain so much from it. I would suggest it's the best way to raise a child is what I've always been told. I have no experience in that, but it's the best. I've been told by many parents in it that it's the best way to raise your child. And it's just a great organization.
Cool.
Well, speaking of hardships and learnings, one of the things you've kind of shared with us in this during kind of maybe the interview process was really you yourself getting involved, you and your sister getting involved in the row crop side. So that was a pretty big learning curve.
That was a huge learning curve.
And your parents let you take more responsibility, I think, than a lot of parents would for a farm that really didn't do a whole lot of grain production. So kind of give an overview of that. I think that's just such a cool story.
Yeah. So when I was 13, they did young farmer loans. And it was just like, they were like $5,000 loans that a lot of kids around us would take out and like buy a few head of cattle or like one mama cow, a bred cow, and raise its calf and do all that. Well, my dad had the idea to have me, my sister, and my brother to each take out one of these loans. And then we'd put that money together and rent out 40 acres of crop ground, buy some equipment and buy all the seed and fertilizer with that money. And at the end of the day, hopefully make a profit off of it. So as the story goes, we got all the loan stuff figured out. I was so young. I didn't really know what was happening when it came to the paperwork. But when it came to the operating, I was more than excited to get more into, being a small little cattle operation. We had our tractors, but I wasn't really necessarily needed to run it. So at that point, I was like, oh, I get to run a combine. I get to run our biggest tractor while we're planting corn or soybeans. And I was more than excited to get in there. And we started upgrading stuff. Like we had to buy the combine because we didn't have one. We did no shelling of anything. All we raised was corn beforehand. So we didn't shell any corn. And then we upgraded our corn planter, and so it was a very large learning experience as well. Learning how to run all that heavy operation, especially me at 13, but I was ecstatic. We rented 40 acres, I think is what it was. Of one of the previous farmers, he was kind of getting out of grain farming and he just had all this land come up for rent, and that was what gave my dad the idea, was because he was talking to his friend. He's like, yeah, you could rent it if you need to. And my dad's like, I have another idea. But so yeah, we get into it, get all the seeds sorted out. We had some other friends who were grain farmers, so they really like honed in, like helped us know who to buy our grain or our seed and fertilizers from. We worked a lot with southern states. They came out and spread some of the fertilizer because we didn't have a fertilizer spreader, and they came out. Their agronomists were very helpful, but at the end of the day, it didn't turn out profitable. It was the weather was decent, not the greatest for that year, but the main problem is that whoever raised that property beforehand had like plowed the soil when it was wet, and so what ended up happening in that clay soil up north all kind of clumped together and made like this tray under the loose dirt, and we had bought a no-till planter, so we didn't till any of the ground, and it prevented the roots from going any further than like this. You pull one out of the ground, you can see the roots would come down a little and then sprawl out to the sides. And so one of the farms where it was really bad, and I think they just use it as a hay farm now. We haven't even went back up there since. The soybeans didn't grow any bigger than like 3 inches. Like it was just, and I mean, it was a smaller farm, but it just wasn't great. And then that was the worst soil conditions we had. And then in the bigger farm where like 30 acres were, they still weren't great. And we should have like tilled the ground beforehand. It's a big learning curve. Done it ever since. But really, we turned that ground around. We've kept the big 30 acres since. But yeah, those soybeans, they grew, but yeah, again, the soil wasn't that great, and so at the end of the day, we didn't make a profit, but we did make some money back, and lucky for us, we had plenty of money saved up from our previous showing projects. At this point, I was 13. I'd been showing for, I think, 3 years at that point. I didn't start right when I was 9, but yeah, I think it was 3 years at that point. So that was like 2 pigs and a steer that I had sold. So I had plenty of money to cover it. And it was before any of us were in college yet. So we didn't have any debt or anything from college. So, yeah, we ended up being fine. But then there was the debate about if we would continue to grain farm. And we kind of took we took a step back on the financial side. I still helped a lot when it came to the operating side, but like our names weren't tied to it after that. It was all on my dad after that. And yeah, so once we got all our loans paid off, my dad was like, well, I bought a combine. He's like, we bought a combine. We're going to try and do this again. And so, yeah, we have gotten a lot more successful at it. But yeah, definitely big learning curve there at the beginning. And honestly, although it was scary, I wouldn't have changed. I would have wanted to get a profit from it, but I wouldn't have changed I would not have went back and not done it. It was a very exciting time in my life, and I think it was another huge thing that has shaped me to be the person I am today.
The part of that story I always think is interesting. Like, yeah, your dad took the reins the next year, but I just remember the first time you told me, it was like, no, we had to use our money to finish out that year. That was you and your siblings' project. A lot of people, well, I feel like that's always the thing. Everybody gets their participation trophy. Everybody has a parent bail them out. I just think that's really cool. Yeah. There's not many stories that specific at that age where parents really held you accountable. Like, hey, you signed on to do this good, bad, or otherwise. We did our best and you did your best, but guess what? That's life. So I think that's a pretty cool story, like at 13, to go ahead and kind of maybe feel like you get kicked in the teeth and make a decision of like, all right, am I financially getting back in, or are we going to step back for a minute? Because that one hurt. It's tough.
I think that's important as parents, let your kids fail at things.
Yeah.
You want them to fail as successful as possible too. You don't want it to be the worst thing that ever happened to it. But yeah, I think that's kind of that's a neat way of, you want to learn farming. All right.
Welcome.
Do it. And sometimes you have a year. I mean, maybe you may have caused some of this, who knows, but there's a lot of those stories that happen every day to farmers. So you got a lesson right away doing it yourself, and I really like that.
Yeah, I'd say the craziest thing about that story was that, like I said before, we're cattle people, and my family did tobacco before the buyout, and they had some. I think my dad helped with all of his friends do like wheat and stuff. I think he was part of it when he was younger, so he knew a little bit. And obviously, we've been very successful in growing corn on our property, and for silage, that's all we did with it was fill the silo to feed the cows in the winter, and so it was like we had never grown soybeans before. I do not think my dad had any experience with soybeans, so we were kind of going into it with like little to no info, but. We learned a lot. And from there, I think that's when my dad figured out afterwards. I think that's when my dad figured out what YouTube was. And we started watching all those farm videos. And we've learned a lot just like over just the past, did I say
7 years?
7 years,
so, yeah.
It's been great.
So do you think experiences like that is what led you to kind of be studying what you're doing at UK?
Oh, yeah. On all of my applications for scholarships or for UK, I was like, this is why I want to be an ag economics major. I was like, it was like I had such a financial hardship when I was little. I was like, I don't want that ever to happen again. Yeah. And I was like, I want to know. And I was like, and because me being 13 sitting in a loan office, I'm like, what's happening? But I'm like, I want to know what was happening. Like that's been I want to figure out that end of the business because that is a huge part of agriculture. Right. And I think that I've always said that that's what instilled my passion to want to be an ag economics major. It's just like I want to know what's going on and I want to be profitable in this industry. So yeah.
Excellent. So yeah, that you kind of answered one of my questions on the why. So what do what's your hope with your degree? What are many ideas that you have maybe past school? What would you like to do? So my initial idea to being an ag economics major was be profitable on in a family farm aspect. When it came to a job. That was a different story. I didn't have much of a plan. I still don't. That was one of the big reasons why I wanted to do an internship, so early in my college career was because I was like, I want to figure this out. And I got lucky enough to realize early on in college that I was going to enjoy my major. Talking about the economics, even just my basic economic classes, I even enjoyed them, and it doesn't sound like a lot of people did. But
me being one of them, so good for you.
Yeah,
I never took anything like that, but I can see it. It's probably a difficult major.
Yeah. So I enjoyed those classes, and I was like, I think this is because I didn't know for sure if that was going to be my course of action throughout college. And I think I solidified that pretty quickly that I was like, this is going to be the way I go. Right. And so I was always talking to my advisors. I'm like, all right, I want to do an internship. I want to learn what careers I can do after college. Because, my ultimate goal is to help a farmer learn how to farm profitably, and including myself. And but I want to also have an income. So so that was one of the big reasons why I wanted to come to Kentucky Farm Bureau, because I know it's a huge insurance insurance agency, and we have insurance through them. And so I was like, I want to intern there just to see how it goes. And when I applied, I didn't know much about the federation side of it, but I'm so glad I got it. I've learned so much in just the short, this is my third week, and I feel like I've just broadened my information on just agriculture, like different sides of agriculture, going on some farm market tours and stuff. Like, I don't know anything about selling like Kentucky Proud products, and like these are these families like grown stuff that they're selling out of here. So I've learned a lot, and that was kind of what led me here.
Excellent.
But
Yeah, so obviously I know I helped figure out what your projects are going to be, but talk to Matt and the listeners about some of the different events. So this will come out in July. So this will be in the heart of a lot of the traveling you're doing. So a lot of our listeners might be a chance to see you at some of the events coming up. So what are some of the different Farm Bureau events you're going to get to participate in?
So events in the next, I guess it'll be over by July, but in the next week or two, I'll be at the University of Kentucky's Eiffel program, and I will be at the Young Farmer program in Ashland, and then in July, July 12th and 13th.
Gin Bridge in
Gin Bridge,
Somerset.
that's what it was.
You knew where
Yeah.
you were headed.
Yeah, I knew it was in Somerset, and I knew it was July 12th and the 13th. I couldn't remember the name. Yeah, Gin Bridge, and so yeah, those are the major. I think I'm going to be going on some more farm market tours with Fran McCall as well.
Yeah.
And that's, yeah.
And so tell them what your big project is for the summer, because a lot of our counties are very interested in an update of what you are putting together for us.
So my big project is the Kentucky Farm Bureau Kentucky Ag Facts.
Okay. All right.
It was a little booklet that was handed out to all of the Farm Bureau offices that were to be handed out to all of their customers.
Schools, members. Any of those,
members.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that was last done, and I think, as I've read through the book, I think it was 2015 was the official year that last copy was handed out. And so my big project is to revamp that.
Okay.
Like get all new information for recent years on like the top commodities in Kentucky, and kind of just redo the whole thing. Like, I've had a whole lot of creative freedom on the matter. And so I haven't completely decided. I think I'll keep it in a booklet form. It's what I've been going towards. But right now in the process, I've had a lot of, it's just been me like scrolling through the USDA website, figuring out all the data that needs to go into the stats that need to go into it. And I was a little nervous when they first told me that that's what I was going to be doing, but I've enjoyed finding all this information. And I mean, that in itself, just doing that book, I've learned so much about Kentucky agriculture.
Good.
Because I'm so caught up in northern Kentucky, ag, because that's what I was raised around. But, you get to looking into the more agricultural areas, which is like Western Kentucky and whatnot. And I just learned a lot about it, just like finding the information. And I feel like it's helping my ultimate goal of helping other farmers.
One thing I think is really cool around here is if you go really anywhere in this building, from insurance to Federation folks, there's a lot of former interns here. So this is an internship program that's really, really good. I mean, they do, especially during the summer. You've been involved in a few extra pieces, probably even on top of that. And our two my two video team members are former interns that we had from years ago, and we've got two this summer as well. So I think you picked the right place to get an internship. Did you look around for internships, and what was it about? You talked a little bit about farm, but what was it about that really stuck out through all that kind of research of different opportunities?
I did look at a few different places to intern at, farm credit, ag credit, and Kentucky Farm Bureau. I think those were the three that I had applied for, and those were really the three that were on my mind to want to experiment with. Because I feel like those three organizations are huge organizations where a lot of UK graduates and ag econ graduates end up. And so I kind of was like, I know that's not my only option, but I think there were large options for my major. And so they were like the main three that were on the table for me that I'm like, I want to intern at one of these places because I know they're huge and I can learn the most and hopefully hopefully find a career option at the end of the day. And so, yeah, I'd applied. The farm credit application was pretty early on into the school year, and I didn't end up getting that one. But I think it was more of a heated battle between ag credit and here when these applications came up on the table. I was always on my advisor. I was like, what internship opportunities are there? I need to know. I want to be on top of things. And I had applied for ag credit and here, and I was like, I didn't know how to feel about my application for here, and then I got the email that I got an interview, and I'm like, oh, all right, I did something right. And I was like, okay. And then I came in for the interview, and it was right before spring break. I remember it because I was so nervous, and also driving here from Lexington in my old 98 truck.
64 was on the prime of just that one lane mess right around Frankfurt. We were feeling for him.
Yeah, I was like,
I'm coming, I promise.
Yeah. That was my feeling. I was like, oh, please don't break down. But I got here for the interview, and I felt so comfortable. You guys did a great job at making us feel comfortable in that interview. It was I felt so comfortable, and I felt like I could just talk. And I think feeling that way is what made me sound so great in the interview. I got to learn a little bit more on what I'd be doing, and I was like, now I really hope I did good because I want to intern here. And then right when I got the acceptance letter, I was like, I'm jumping on this. I got to take it. And I was just excited from the get-go. Like after that interview, I was like, oh, I'm ready. I was like, you sent me a couple dates for my starting date, and I'm like, I'm doing the earliest one I can.
Oh. Well, we like excitement. It's been different for us on the Federation side. We haven't been able to bring the internship program back. We've been rehiring. We just had a lot of retirement, so we've been filling roles instead of doing internships for a few years, and so we were very excited to do it as well. I'm curious from you, what part of Farm Bureau, what are you seeing? And I know you're just 3 weeks in, so you're about to see so much more. It'll be funny to talk to him at the end of this whole thing, but what's the most important thing you've noticed that we're kind of doing for our members, whether it's the commodity side or public affairs? What's kind of been the most eye-opening thing you've started hearing about since you've been here?
The biggest thing that I've done so far, and I think is honestly a great program that you guys are doing, is the certified farm markets. One of the first things I got to do was help organize the tour that's happening next summer. But as I got into, I didn't know how the market tour would go, like with just me and Fran. But going and seeing these little not little farms, but at these agri-tourism places that one was just like a family ran little market, and they were like, it's a slow day, and I saw like 7 or 8 people come in there, and we're only there for like 30 minutes. I'm like, I was like, a slow day. I was like, that's really good. Yeah. But like the products that they had there, it all looked good. It was like labeled like appealing, eye appealing, and everything. They let us taste a few things, and it was very tasty. This was Pope.
We don't do that on cattle farms, so you may start going with Fran more often now. We don't taste test at the cattle farms.
Right. This was Pope Family Farms, and it was like in Paris, and it was. That was the first one we stopped at. I'm like, oh, this is really nice. And I was like, I want to bring my girlfriend here. Get some fresh produce. Yeah. But so we, and then we went to Eckerd Orchard in Versailles, which is where I live now. But I didn't even know it was over there. And that's like a bigger agritourism market. But they also had same thing, same like appealing labels, different products. Like I was like, okay, I'm probably going to see some of the same things, but no, they were really like, I guess Eckerd Orchard is more of an orchard, but still, it was like different products, and and having Kentucky Farm Bureau backing them, I'm sure helps so much. And I think that's just one of the most like beneficial programs for a farmer who's trying to do like the next step after farming the products. And like I think that's just a major like beneficial program.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a great example of many things that Farm Bureau does, which is bringing people together for a commonality. So young farmers to women's programs, Generation Bridge programs, farm markets together, and finding that those connectors, those networking, those opportunities to help each other. The Certified Farm Market program is really a good example of exactly what that kind of supposed to do. You go to one market in one part of the state, they've got products from another market in a different part of the state, and vice versa. They're all very nice. They're certified for a reason. I think that's they're nice markets.
Yeah,
it's a great program, and they have all. Anything you can imagine, and it's almost in every little part of the state. So wherever you're from, there's probably a certified farm market near you. So I agree. Yeah. It's a really good example of what Farm Bureau really does a lot of times, is just bring people together to talk and to network and to think of better ways of doing things. It's its own way of kind of doing that.
Yeah, and that's just one of the programs that I've been a part of, and I didn't even know they had that many programs like through Kentucky Farm Bureau. And then, like when I was first applying, I was more thinking of an insurance, like in an insurance mindset, and there's just so much more here, and so much like more. So much people are benefiting off of these programs that you guys are doing, and it's been amazing to see.
Excellent.
Yeah, it's been good. We enjoy having you out there. I know Fran enjoys the buddy in the car, and we were talking just the other day. She'll probably take you another time, and then we're going to let you loose and get you go and do some on your own. So that'll be really cool. So stay tuned, farm markets. You might see Weston your way. We're going to get closer to wrapping this thing up. This has been fun, so I hate to cut it short. But when it comes to someone your age, I think what I'm catching a lot from talking to you right now, and I caught this in the interview too, we think we get the word out really well, and then we're still missing some people. So if you could talk to somebody else out there that's your age, maybe going into college or in college, and there's options to get involved in Farm Bureau, or just in agriculture, Kentucky Ag in general, kind of what's your message to them when it comes to how important that is?
To get involved with Farm Bureau, the first step, if you're going into college, is to join the Collegiate Farm Bureau Club. That's how I learned the application to begin with. And that's a big club that just started, and it's getting its feet on the ground, and like they're starting to run with it. And that it's been great so far since I've been a part of it, and that would be one big step to it. For if I was talking to kids thinking about going to kids just in high school or whatnot, get involved more than I ever did with your Farm Bureau office, and because it seems like there's plenty of options for young. I mean, like the first big thing that Farm Bureau ever did for me is I got well, not small. It was very big. It was the largest scholarship for my freshman year, and I was so grateful. And I didn't know most of the stuff that was going on there until I went to that meeting to like receive it. And I was like, man, there's a lot of people involved here, more than I thought. And then I come here to a 4-story building. I'm like, there's a lot of people involved. But so just be more active with everything. And,
you're gonna go. You've gone to Eiffel. Did you do the?
He goes next week.
I go next week.
That'll be something really to see. I'm a city guy with city kids, and because of my connections here at Farm Bureau, my daughter actually got to go to Eiffel, and it totally blew her mind. She came back and just has all these friends through that now, and really learned a lot. Learned what college looks like if that's all that you get out of it, but has a different appreciation for agriculture. So I think you're going to see a lot of neat things that young people can do as a part of Farm Bureau.
Yeah, so I haven't even been to Eiffel yet, and I kind of wish I had went when I was younger. because it sounds like I've been helping out just this past week with like the getting everything ready for it. And yeah, it sounds like it's going to be a blast. And if anybody who was in FFA and went to FFA camp, it sounds like it's going to be like the next level of that. And I'm like, and then being able to stay on UK, that's a huge deal too. Just like being able to look around that university, and like for kids who haven't decided what college they're going to yet, that's a big deal to have. Like, because I mean, the University of Kentucky, it's pretty big, and getting these like tours of it early on and being involved and staying in the dorm, and like you just get a feel for how like college is going to be. And so yeah, I think that's an amazing program to go to too. And if kids can get involved in that, then they should run with it. Because I haven't been there yet, but I am already starting to regret the fact that I haven't been yet. So.
Well, this is good. I think that's great advice. We'll probably stick that in the show notes, is a connection, kind of a link to our commodities website. That's where that Ag Facts book. So y'all be on the lookout this fall. I'm big on announcement emails right now. People might be getting tired of seeing my name on the email thing. But no, we'll send an announcement email out when that is posted. We'll probably get some printed, but that PDF for sure. So you guys will get a chance to see Weston's summer work come this fall. We'll get something ready for you guys. And then we'll also maybe put a link to some other pieces in there, kind of just how to get connected to your county farm bureau. Because I think that's great advice as someone who obviously works here and interned here. I also did not get to Eiffel. I was at FFA camp and different things. And so I wish I'd have gotten involved even earlier. Yeah. So I think the more young people, and you're younger than me, that they hear say that, they're going to start listening. So I think that's awesome.
Yeah, I think you've picked the right place to come do an internship. You're going to learn from some great folks. You're going to see a lot of neat things this summer. And, if you ever want to come hang out with the video team as we run around the state, you can always do that.
Okay.
There you go. All right. Well, I hate to wrap it up. It's been fun, but we're gonna wrap this thing. Thank you so much, Weston, for being here. We appreciate you.
Yeah, no worries.
All right. And thank you, listeners, for joining. Be sure to subscribe to our larger podcast, Kentucky Farm Life, to catch our next episode. And we'll see you next time on Between the Rows.